So is there a chance that McCarthy, a real chance, that McCarthy gets kicked to the curb and it's either Jordan or Jeffries or somebody from the outside like Newt Gingrich or maybe Trump? Is any of that likely to really happen?
None of those people are likely. Now, it is, after these 3 votes, possible that it won't be Kevin McCarthy. This is the beginning of what will be a long and painful process for a guy who has wanted, and I hate to put it this way, but power for its own sake for a long time. He has been going for this brass ring for years and years now, and he came very close once before. The same group took it away from him, and now here he is, and we've had 3 no votes. And again, this is only the second time since the Civil War that this hasn't just been a pro forma vote. But if it's not McCarthy, the way that that happens will be that, so you have the Freedom Caucus that you, I think, pretty accurately described. You have those guys, and some of them are true believers, some of them are charlatans. But then there's another group that are just scared. Right? Then there's another group of Republicans who are afraid of a primary, and they're afraid of what's being said on other networks or what's being said on talk radio or what's being said on the internet. And if they decide that they can't vote for McCarthy, you could see the dam break, and you could see that number go from 19 to 29. And if that happens, you get to a point, what would occur would be that the old bulls in the House, guys like Tom Cole from Oklahoma, Michael McCall from Texas, guys who are the chairs, men and women who are the chairs of important committees, would go to McCarthy and say, you're toxic, it's not going to happen. But who comes forward after that is not Jim Jordan, for goodness sake, or a Democrat. Who comes forward after that? Steve Scalise, who is the number 2 in the Republican conference right now. Elise Stefanik, who is also in the leadership team. One of those folks comes forward, not some cockamamie thing where it's, where Donald Trump flies through the window.
Right. Jordan is putting forward McCarthy. So, I think he's not a subtle player, so I think he's making known where his head is on this. But why isn't this as simple a play for McCarthy as going to the people who are his no votes? He only needs 1 or 2 to get the number that he needs. Give them what they want on one of the steering committees or whatever it is that they want, and tell other people who are these scared no's, vote present. Vote present. You'll be able to play that exactly the way you want, and then he gets it.
Counselor, you nailed it on the present. You can water down the necessary number by telling members just to vote present so they don't have to take those scary votes. The problem for McCarthy is he can only afford 4 defections. The place where they're negotiating, and nobody really cares about this because it is constitutional arcana, it's House rules gobbledygook, but it's the question of who can move to vacate the chair, who can move to call a vote of no confidence on the Speaker of the House. They want it to be 1 person. McCarthy says it should be 5 members. Support is necessary to have such a vote. At some point, can McCarthy just say, I give, you get the 1 vote? That's the shortest path. That's the quickest way. But there's a big problem with that. The people who played by the rules, the people who did what they were supposed to do and climbed the ladder, served on their committees, did all the stuff that they were supposed to do, they have watched cycle after cycle after cycle that extortionate demands from unserious members of their conference, people who would much rather be on television, they'd rather do my job than they would their own. People who are celebrities before they are lawmakers, people who are pandering cuckoo birds, these people keep getting their way. And the serious people who want to do the work, who want to legislate, we get all the attention goes to the Freedom Caucus, but we don't talk about the Problem Solvers Caucus. We don't talk about the Main Street Caucus. We don't talk about the Republican Governance Group. Normal, serious, mainstream Republicans who are willing to work with Democrats on certain issues, who want to legislate and want to accomplish stuff. These people are sick of people like Kevin McCarthy selling them out. So that's where McCarthy is, betwixt and between these 2 groups.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.